What is a constitutional sheriff and why should you care? Stay tuned and find out.
Welcome. Okay, here's the question.
You serious?
How are we dark horses? You know, the ones everyone is betting against, the ones they don't expect to win, place, or even show on the track, and they'll even laugh on us when we talk about trying. How do we show the world our greatness and triumph?
Come on.
Well, that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
Let's go.
This is The Dark Horse Entrepreneur. My name is Tracy Brinkman.
And push it up.
What is up? What is up? What is up, my Dark Horse friends and family? Welcome back to your weekly dose of Protect and Defend Learning. I'm your Dark Horse host, Tracy Brinkman, and you, well, that, my friend, as always, is infinitely more important. You are a driven entrepreneur, or one in the making. Either way, you're here because you're ready to start or restart, kickstart, or just start leveling up with some great marketing, personal, or business results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. But today, I want to come at you from a completely different angle, because as always, whenever I have any of the amazing interview guests I'm lucky enough to have aboard, I say I have a big episode. This is a huge one today. Today's Sheriff Mack is going to be sharing so much about the importance of having a constitutional sheriff protect you, to protect your family and your business. Plus, I'm going to tease next week's episode because next week we have this amazing woman who has been featured on networks like ABC, CBS, and NBC for her expertise on empowering women to boss up. Now, usually this is the point where I say, hey, the Dark Horse corrals are chock full of all this and all that and the GOLD, and let's go, and I do an introduction for our guest. I want to do something a little different today because this is going to be a different episode. So I want to lay the groundwork for you. The guest we have today is not a businessman in the sense that he's an entrepreneur or anything, but he's a businessman in the sense he's out there protecting us. Sheriff Mack is the founder of the CSPOA, which is the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. He's an author, he's a speaker, he's a former sheriff, hence the name Sheriff Mack, and he has served in this wide variety of roles over the course of his nearly 20-year career in law enforcement. He started off with the Provo Police Department in Provo, Utah, and he started off as a parking enforcement cadet. And then after attending BYU and graduating, he later went on to serve as a full-time officer, was promoted to corporal, sergeant, and even detective, and even served a year in an undercover narcotics agent capacity in his assignment. But things changed later in his career, as you'll hear in his story, and I'm going to let him tell it, when the Brady Bill was brought to his jurisdiction. And here's why I want to make sure we understand the importance of what Sheriff Mack is going to be sharing with us today. There are amazing people out there protecting us day and night. All right, let's go. We have the military out there throwing their lives on the line in so many avenues. And being a third generation military man, I feel for these fellows. And then we have, all those frontline folks we've heard about since COVID hit the airwaves, right? All our doctors and our nurses and our firemen and paramedics and the sheriffs. And then we hear this big thing about defund the police. I don't know about you, but when things are going sideways and I want to pick up the phone and dial 911, I do not want the pizza delivery guy arriving to help me out. It's just not going to do me any damn good. I want a well-trained and well-staffed police force to arrive to help me out in whatever the situation may be that I am unable to handle myself. And then there's a level of those sheriffs that are out there, and they're referred to as constitutional sheriffs. These are the folks that you and I, as voting citizens, have elected to serve us in a law enforcement capacity. And their job is to enforce the laws in the Constitution. Now, were you aware of this? There's probably a handful of you, maybe more than a handful of you, that are shaking your head no. This, my friend, is why Sheriff Mack is on the Dark Horse Entrepreneur today. Because their job, his job, all those constitutional sheriffs' roles out there that you elected, is to help protect you, protect your family, protect your rights, protect your business. And if you're not leveraging them to your fullest capacity, then shame on you. And if you're not electing those that you believe will actually do the damn job, then shame on us collectively, because it's we collectively that vote these ladies and gentlemen into that office so that they could serve their constituents in the most amazing way possible. And one last thing before we get into listening to Sheriff Mack. At the end of this, I'm not going to give you my thoughts as I always do. I just want you to hear his message and let it ring in however it rings for you, good, bad, or indifferent. And if it rings for you, maybe go back and listen to it again and really hear what it is he's saying. These ladies and gentlemen in their roles as sheriff are here to serve us. And it's Sheriff Mack's goal and his organization's goal to train as many sheriffs and peace officers and elected officials as they're able regarding to what it means to uphold the very oath that they all take. They all took it so that they understand the purpose of government, of their role in helping us secure our rights. That's it. So that they understand that above all else, it's liberty first, and that the Constitution can't be suspended, even in a time of crisis. I know this is going into some pretty controversial arenas right now, right? So I think that makes a message like this even more important to hear. I know, and here's the thing. I really honestly do not care which side of this argument you may be on. I want to educate you. I want to share this message with you. And if you still are on an opposite side of the argument than me, then that's fine. I have no qualms against you believing your beliefs, especially if you live in this great country that I live in, the United States of America. That's why we live here, so that we can believe those beliefs how we want to believe them. But here's the thing, my friend. I believe my way, and I'll respect you to believe yours. And as long as the way I believe doesn't impact the way you believe, then let's let each other just live our lives in peace. It is not until the way I believe directly impacts, alters, prohibits, or stops the way you want to live that we probably should have a further discussion and maybe even a disagreement that needs to be taken to authorities to handle. But if in the meantime, what I'm doing doesn't impact you and what you're doing doesn't impact me, and it's not impacting negatively anyone else on this planet, then so be it. That's living right. That's all right. It's in writing. It's in the Bill of Rights. It's in the Constitution. Go find your happiness. That's why many of the people across this planet come to this amazing country so they can live the life that they dreamed of. And I want you to live the life that you dream of. That's why I come on here 3 times a week here lately, sharing ideas, tips, concepts to help you level up your life, your personal life, your relationship life, your business life. And that's why I bring on this gentleman today, so that you can be informed on how someone you elected can help you keep those rights within the Constitution. And with that, let's get to the starting gates and go. All right, Sheriff Mack, once again, man, welcome to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur.
Dark Horse Entrepreneur.
Yes, sir. The Dark Horse Entrepreneur. It's for all those dark horses, those underdogs out there. Sometimes even the rebels, right? Those ones that people are like, you're not going to make anything of your life, but you know what? We're going to charge ahead and we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, okay. So I know what dark horse means, and I know what entrepreneur means, so I guess that makes sense.
It all makes sense, right? All kind of feathers together, right? We're those underdogs out there. But this isn't about us, right? This is about you. So I want to give you an opportunity to share your story, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I know you have some cool high points well, some might call it low points, but you have some cool points in your story. And so I'm going to shut up and let you tell it.
Well, thank you so much. There's so many different miracles about what has brought me to be in front of you today, or where we met at the Red Pill Expo. And I can't believe that this has ever happened to me. If you would have told me when I was a rookie police officer some 35 years ago that I was going to be on the lecture circuit and that I was going to write 7 or 8, 9 books. I've got a new book that I'm working on right now that I need to hurry up and get finished. And I'll tell you the title of that book, COVID-19, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And isn't that a great title based on the movie with Jack Nicholson about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? And I'm going to compare what's going on to the evil practices of Nurse Cratchit and that insane asylum that was so cruel and evil and murderous. And I believe that the insane asylum today is Washington, D.C., and the Democrat and Republican Party always pushing things on us that are evil. And of course, evil is called good and good is called evil today. And I just want to put that book out there. And hopefully, because that's what I do, I go around the country trying to wake everybody up to our awful situation. But my story starts in Safford, Arizona, where I was the Graham County Sheriff. I grew up in Safford, and it's a small farming community. And now I guess we have to change that to copper mining, the 3 C's, copper, cattle, and cotton of that county. And I loved it. It was a great place to be raised and a great place to be from. And I played a lot of sports, and I was a very good athlete. And I met my wife there. She was from a neighboring town. I'm 5 years her senior. And then I started my police career up in Utah. And after 11 years, everything was going great. And you know what happens when everything's going great in your life?
Yep.
Your in-laws call. And my wife's parents kept calling and asking us to move home and run for sheriff so that we wouldn't, that my county wouldn't get this corrupt sheriff in there. And both my wife and I told them to leave me alone, that I had no intention of moving home. I had no intention of running for sheriff, leaving a great job, and our kids are doing great in school, and the school's right next door, and the church is across the street. And so anyway, something came over us. Some epiphany happened to me and my wife, and we looked at each other one day when I was in my police uniform, and I was actually a detective at the time. So I was plain clothes, but I had a uniform where I guess I had to work some parade or something. I don't know. And I came home, and both of us said at the same time, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" And I go, "Yes, I think so. What are you thinking?" She goes, "You're never going to wear that uniform again." I said, "That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm never going to wear this uniform." And literally, we just picked up right then. I mean, within a week or two. And we moved home to Graham County, Arizona, Safford, Arizona. I ran for sheriff, and I hadn't even lived there for 12 years. I had never worked in law enforcement anywhere in the state, never worked in law enforcement in my hometown or my county. And but I did have a lot of law enforcement experience in Utah, and I did everything in law enforcement imaginable. It was a great education. And so I ran on that. I'm new blood and I'm old blood. This is where I'm from. I left and got educated, and I'm very dedicated to the principles of the Constitution. I ran on a constitutional platform and on a very professional law enforcement platform, and I worked my tail off, and I got elected. Then 4 years later, I got reelected, and in 1994, we had January 21st, 1994, we had a Sheriff's Association meeting in Phoenix, and 3 agents of the BATF were present at this meeting. And they handed us a document that was 25 pages long that detailed, now get this, that detailed what our marching orders would be and had to be in order to enforce the Brady Bill for the federal government for free. No negotiation, no contract, no input from us, just this is what you shall do. And get this, first time in American history where a bill or act, I'm not going to call it a law because it was unlawful, where a bill or act actually threatened to arrest local officials for not enforcing a federal law or a federal statute according to their dictates. And every sheriff in the room was a dead set against it. They were cussing. They said, this is crazy. This is arrogance. And the federal government just seemed to think they can get away with anything. And that's the problem with the federal government today. They believe that they are its own declaratory act that we fought a Revolutionary War to stop, that Thomas Paine described as an act of slavery. If government thinks it can do anything it wants to you anytime they want to, that is the same as slavery.
Mm.
And so I became so incensed with this stupid bill that I decided to sue the federal government, and indeed I did. And thank goodness, 6 other sheriffs joined me in that lawsuit. I could name all 6 of them for you. And Sheriff Prince from Montana and I ended up at the U.S. Supreme Court in December of 1996. And Justice Scalia wrote the decision for the majority, 5-4 split, which assailed the Brady Bill, which assailed Congress, told the Congress that they exceeded their authority and that indeed the Brady Bill was unconstitutional. Now get this, there were 5 Brady Bills scheduled. And so literally Sheriff Prince and I, 2 small town sheriffs, preserved the Second Amendment by using the 10th Amendment, and that killed Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5, which altered the history of America because Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5 were going to completely gut and destroy the Second Amendment, all FFLs, and stop all gun shows. And so we people in the gun rights movement who really know the case and know what happened tell me all the time that you saved our business, you saved our gun show, and you bought us about 30 years in preserving the Second Amendment. Obviously, we can't stop all gun control because you have criminal politicians that are going to break the law and try to initiate gun control no matter what. And let me make this very clear. The Second Amendment makes gun control against the law in the United States of America. And that's easy to determine. That conclusion is inescapable if you read the intent of the Founding Fathers in the promulgation of the Second Amendment. So after that, I lost my 3rd election bid. And ever since then, I took on a couple of trivial jobs here and there, but I was a consultant for Gun Owners of America. I was a consultant for a food storage company and preparedness company. And then I actually taught school a little bit. And then I actually sold cars for a friend of mine for a little bit while I was helping my father while he was about to die, and helping my mother with my dad. And then after he passed away, I started writing books again, and I went back on the lecture circuit, and I've been doing that full time off and on for the last 10 years. I was also a school teacher during the last 10 years, and I just quit teaching school so that I could do this full time, so that I can work with sheriffs in making sure that they are trained and that they understand the oath of office and that they understand their obligation and their constitutional obligation. Whoops, sorry.
That's all right.
and that they understand their constitutional obligation to uphold and defend the basic human civil rights that we were blessed with by God when we were born in this country. So that's what I do full time. And I've started an organization called the CSPOA, as you well know. And that's the acronym for Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. And it's based on the belief that if the sheriffs of this country will defend, protect, serve, and uphold those 4 words, if they will just do those 4 words and keep their oath of office, we will take back America and restore our Constitution tomorrow. We don't have to wait for more legislation. We don't have to wait for another election. This is exactly what the sheriffs are obligated to do. They should do it. They must do it. If we're going to save America and keep it peaceful and effective, this wonderful solution can happen tomorrow. But we need you, and we need everybody in this country to get behind their sheriffs, to get behind this movement, so that we can make Washington, D.C. corruption irrelevant, that we can stand against the bureaucrats who are perpetuating these crimes against humanity and against our Constitution, and get back to the liberty that we were supposed to have when we became a country in 1776.
Man, that's powerful. And like I was mentioning to you earlier, when my family and I watched you give your presentation, a lot of this content you're sharing was in there. Obviously, you went into a lot more detail about some of the story pieces at your speech. But one of the things I really want you to kind of help the listeners understand is, okay, I have a sheriff. What's he talking about? Of course, my sheriff is going to protect and defend, but you're talking about a very specific type of protection and defense of laws, and a constitutional sheriff. A sheriff isn't always a constitutional sheriff. So help them understand that better.
Okay, well, first, you have to understand, the people need to understand that the sheriff is the only elected law enforcement officer anywhere in their county, anywhere in their state, and pretty much anywhere in the country. And in so doing, that establishes that county as a part of the constitutional republic that we were all part of, that began in 1776. We really didn't become a country until about 1787,
Right.
when we had the Constitutional Convention. But be that as it may, the sheriff works and answers to the people, only the people. He has no other supervisor. Isn't that amazing? He doesn't report to the county attorney. That he's not his boss. The county board of supervisors or county commissioners are not the sheriff's boss. Only we, the people, are the sheriff's boss. And it's amazing. It's wonderful. And he has sworn to those people when he took his job that he would swear an oath of allegiance to the Constitution, so of the state Constitution and the federal Constitution. And so if he sees anyone violating those rights, he has an obligation to interpose, to stand in the way and make sure that that threat is quelled and squashed and gotten rid of. And so that's really his job. And it doesn't single out that or specify a different responsibility. It just adds to all the others he has. I mean, he still needs to respond to family fights.
Mm-hmm.
He still needs to arrest people for drunk driving. He still needs to stop theft and arrest people for theft or embezzlement or extortion or rape or sexual assault or child abuse or human trafficking. The one thing I have called a farce, though, and I used to be an undercover narcotics officer, is the farce known as the drug war. In fact, just about every time the federal government comes out with another one of their wars, like the war on poverty or the war on terrorism or the war on crime or the war on drugs, they all get worse. So I'm not a fan of the war on drugs anymore. And I really think that law enforcement should stop spending so much time on that because, one, we should all realize we have changed nothing. We spend $100 billion a year to stop a problem that our laws of prohibition caused in the first place.
Yeah.
We literally created the cartels and that we helped fund them with all these billions of dollars. But we need to wake up and be honest with the American people and start spending time on, how about human trafficking? How about the sexual exploitation of children?
Yes.
And if we spent that much time and money that we do on the drug war on those heinous crimes, I think we could really make a dent in those. And we've not made a dent in the war on drugs at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, I feel that way very profoundly. But as far as the sheriff, I want your followers and listeners, anybody watching this program today, I want you to understand you have an amazing obligation yourself here. You must have a relationship with your sheriff. He works for you, as I mentioned, and he needs to know what you want him to do. Now, he can't just do anything you want because he promised you to follow the Constitution. Now, within that framework, within that perimeter, start working with your sheriff saying, look, I'm tired of the IRS harassing me, taking my stuff, and treating me like they are the Gestapo and I'm the subject and they get to do anything to me that they want. Your sheriff has an obligation to stop that.
You're now listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
And I'm not kidding. How significant, or let me rephrase that, how insignificant would it be that the sheriff would promise you that he would protect you, your life, your liberty, and your property, and then tell you, but I won't do that if it's a government official taking all those things from you.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. I'll only do it if it's a street gang or if it's a common criminal. But if it's a three-piece suit with an attaché case from Washington, D.C. or the state capitol, then I won't get involved. You see, it doesn't matter who it is. It matters what they are doing. And I don't care who. I care what. And if they're there to destroy my rights, destroy my family, destroy my business, destroy everything I've worked for my entire life, and they're stealing my home and stealing my bank accounts and stealing all my property. And they're doing that a lot of times without due process or probable cause, then your sheriff absolutely has an obligation to inform the IRS, to inform the FDA, EPA, Army Corps of Engineers, USDA, FBI, all of them, and say, look, you're not going to do that in my county anymore. And the very premise of the IRS, with all the crimes they've committed in America, that they have this opportunity and lawful, quote, lawful, because it's not lawful, but they think they have the law on their side to perform about 200,000 random audits that are baseless, that have no base in probable cause, and just go after people and check all their financial records. And then and 90% of the time, by the way, all these citizens owe more money. 90% of the time. See, that's what I put in the bull loney file, because they don't have that authority, and they do not have the right to audit me unless they have probable cause. And every agency in this government must follow the Constitution. And if they don't, I, as sheriff, have no obligation to go along with them. In fact, quite the contrary. I must put a stop to all unlawful activity within the jurisdictional boundaries of my county.
Mm.
And if it means I got to put my retirement on the line or my job on the line or anything else, I must do my job. And as long as I'm the sheriff, that is my job.
There's so much in there. I think one of the things in there, I think as a people here in the United States, and I'm third generation military man. My dad raised me to appreciate and value and respect our law enforcement and the power of command and, the whole chain and all 9 yards. And I've been on the other side of the law, right? I did a couple of years on the dark side of the streets of Southern California. But what I find, even as I look back at that, while I was doing things that were shady at best, I still respected all of our men that were serving, in that case in LA County. But I think I just got off on a tangent where I was going with this, but I think over time, people as general in society have just been relinquishing. I give you a grain here, a grain there of my rights or my freedom, right? A little piece at a time until it becomes the norm to let any one of the alphabet agencies you mentioned.
Or until COVID-19 hit. And then it was like, speed up. No more
floodgate,
no more
right?
tiny baby steps. Now it's bold in your face. We're just destroying everything in America.
Yeah, right. And that happened really, really fast.
Yeah. But as long as it's for your own good, we get to do this.
No, you don't. That's just it. You don't. And I know that's what you're saying, right? You can't. And there's a number of folks that the results of COVID, and I know when everything first started, I was like, okay, well, if there's a pandemic, let's do the right thing.
Cooperate for a couple of weeks.
Right. Yeah. Let's cooperate. Let's rest in the house and, do the mask. Well, the mask thing wasn't happening at that point, but then it just became this series, one step after, oh, well, they're willing to do that. Well, let's do this. And then let's do that. And like, well, wait a minute, what's going on?
And so I have determined that the most damnable thing that government can do to any of us is try to take care of us, force us to do certain things for our health, and then tell us, I'm doing this and I'm shutting down your churches and I'm shutting down your religions and I'm arresting ministers and I'm arresting people for going to church. And I get to tell you how to have Thanksgiving dinner, and I get to force you to wear a diaper on your face.
Yes.
And if you don't do all these things, and if you don't stay away from your family at Thanksgiving and Christmas, and if you do anything that we tell you not to regarding your own personal health choices, then we're going to throw you in jail, and we're going to not let you eat and drink and sleep and anything else. And we're going to completely control everything. And we can do that because it's for your own good. And besides, just like in Nuremberg, we're just following orders. There is nothing more damnable than a government that tells you, I'm just following orders, or I get to do this to you because it's for your own good.
Yes.
Those are the most damnable excuses for tyranny that have ever existed in human history.
And every time, and anybody who's read even a chapter of any history of the rise or fall of any great nation or civilization, that's usually when it starts, right? When they say, oh, I'm going to start doing this for the people, and then it just, it's a slippery slope. It really is.
They're just too stupid to take care of themselves. And I know I can't balance my own budget, and I know I can't balance the budget of the federal government, but we're really smart and we're really great defenders of the people. So we're just going to defend you whether you like it or not. We're going to take care of you whether you like it or not. And it's for the good of the whole. So, what the hell?
What the hell? You and oh, by the way, just do what I say.
Yeah, do what I say. If it's just do what I say, then why did we fight against King George III in the Revolutionary War?
Thank you.
Why did we just do what we were told?
Thank you.
Why did we fight against Hitler? Why did we just do what we were told?
Yeah.
And when Churchill was going to compromise and go ahead and work with Hitler so that they could keep their lives, why didn't you just go ahead and do it? But the people rose up in righteous indignation and said, no, we want to be free. In the Revolutionary War, we the people said we want to be free. Our founders of this great country said, give me liberty or give me death. And I have said that throughout this entire pandemic. And my students have even written me back about it. You know what, Sheriff, maybe Patrick Henry's quote, give me liberty or give me death, really applies to this COVID thing.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And folks, there is no excuse and no time ever, no pandemic, no hurricane, no natural disaster, no program, politics, any kind of political program that no matter how much good it might do, that government has the right to force that on us in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me add something about this. This came up in my Supreme Court lawsuit at the district court level. So my journey to get to the Supreme Court, the first case where I actually testified, and this is regarding the Brady Bill and my ire about the federal government and this was the Clinton administration. So I guess you might say the truth of this and the miracle is I sued the Clintons and lived to tell about it. But Judge John Roll was the district court judge, a federal judge, and he actually said this. The attorney for the federal government was trying to testify herself about the wonderful efficacy and results of the enforcement of the Brady Bill background checks in the first 4 months of its implementation. And she rattled off all these statistics to the judge. And I was actually on the stand at the time, and I was wondering why my attorney wasn't objecting, because she can't put in testimony.
Right.
She can ask me questions. She can try to get me to do it.
Right.
She can't do it. Or she could have called another witness, but anyway, I'm really glad my attorney said nothing because the judge really went after her. And he said this. He said, "Counselor, do not pretend in my courtroom that your statistical analysis somehow equates to constitutionality."
Whoa.
And see what he taught me here and what he really taught America. And I've actually written about this and I say this on just about every interview I give. What Judge Roll was saying is that the benefit of any statute or enforced statute, if you can show me all the statistics that showed that there was a great benefit from this bill or this statute, then of course we're going to keep it because it's automatically wonderful and good and obviously constitutional because it provided so much benefit to everyone. No, whether the pandemic restrictions and regulations were good or bad or provided a benefit or did not, does not make it lawful. And our legislatures must follow the law. And our executive branch has no authority to issue mandates that restrict our liberty. And so no one has the authority to do what they've been doing. And that we all went along, or obviously not all of us, but the people and the sheeple and those that went along, you brainwashed cowards, get out from underneath this yoke and stand up for yourselves and stand up for your neighbors and say, you know what? It might be good to wear a mask. It might be good to get a vaccination, but I am never going to support any government that forces either one of us on that. That's where we should be. And we should be, I want to ask every sheriff and every teacher and every government official, do you really want us to send this message to our children that we have the authority? We are the government, and we have the authority to shut you down, destroy your lives, and destroy your schools, and lock you up in your homes and give you home arrest, what judges give you when there's not enough room in jails.
Right.
Give you home arrest, and we can do all of that to you because we're from the government and we're here to take care of you. Do you want that message, or do you want the message to go to your children, even though we've got serious problems right now, and even though there's looked like a real health issue out there in the world and in our community, we cannot force you to participate. We cannot force your assistance or your help. We hope that we will teach you correct principles and that you will make the right decision for yourself. Because, my dear friends, that is the principle of liberty.
That's the principle.
Which message do you really want?
I want that last one, man. I want that last one. That's what we were birthed on. That's what it's all in the document. You just got to read it. You got to stand up for it.
Tracy. That's really key to all of this. If you have public officials, a patrol officer, sheriffs, cops, city council, county commission, if you have all of them who have sworn an oath, and they all have, who have sworn an oath of allegiance to the Constitution, do you think they could ever do that without ever reading it?
Oh God, I
hope
hope
do it without studying it. And folks, we offer that training. We at the CSPOA, we offer the training, and we also offer your assistance. We need your help, or this isn't going to work. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance from we the people. And Jefferson warned us about that. We have to be involved in the process.
Absolutely. And I was actually I was actually taking it there because I know you have some great literature, some great information for those just like me, right? I'm not a sheriff. I'm not a law enforcement official of any kind.
You're the sheriff's boss.
I'm the sheriff's boss, right? And there's a number of documents and literature from your website. And so if folks want to learn more about Sheriff Mack and the CSPOA, where do we want to send them to?
CSPOA, I'll say it slower. CSPOA.org. CSPOA.org. And everybody can join. All citizens can join. They can join the posse membership there. Everybody can make a donation. And what we ask people to just do what you can. Do what you can do. Join us in this holy cause of liberty.
Get involved. I know we have reached out to our sheriff here in Washington County, Wisconsin, Sheriff Martin Schulstes, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Great guy, already a constitutional sheriff. We have joined the CSPOA. We believe in it that much. Sheriff Mack, I definitely appreciate you coming on here, hanging out with us for a bit and dropping this knowledge. And hopefully it spurs others to, stand up and go, well, what's he talking about? Let me go check that out. Because really, at the end of the day, it's all behooving of all of us to stand up, take a moment, read the documents, get not educated, but be informed about who's supposed to be doing what and why, and who can't be doing what and why, and then raise our hand, say, hey, Sheriff, aren't you supposed to be hooking me up right here? And go talk to him. I know when we reached out to our sheriff, he's like, yeah, come on over to the office and I'll sit down and chat with you all you want. Yeah. And I imagine just about every sheriff out there is probably just as welcoming to their constituents.
Some are not, but I think they're going to pay a price for it. But I mean, there's literally sheriffs who said, you can email me, but I will not meet with you in person.
Really?
Whoa.
Whoa. Oh, can't imagine that. Mistake, right? Oh, he's not going to get reelected. Again, Sheriff Mack, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thanks for having me, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.